Whenever I talk about fasting with anyone, I tend to use the analogy that many others before me have used and compare fasting to the process of training a muscle, where I compare it to like lifting a heavy weight in the gym. As no one in their right mind is just going to walk into the gym and pick up the heaviest dumbbell or put 315 pounds on the bar and attempt to lift it if that's the first time that they're actually stepping foot in that gym. As doing so, that person would just have a pretty high chance of an injury, or let's just say that it wouldn't be smart for that person to do. However, if someone did, then the best case scenario is that a person just won't be able to lift that weight because their muscles to lift that weight haven't been developed yet. But as I said before, the worst case scenario, that could just be a pretty bad injury. Now, I think about fasting in the same way as an example of a person attempting to lift the heaviest weight in the gym on day one and compare it to a person jumping straight into a 24-hour or a multiple day fast when they've never ever fasted before. Now, neither person should be doing either of the two just because that person, they just haven't trained that muscle to do so. And a person's fasting ability is just like a skill that has not been built up yet. Now, in this month's masterclass, we talked about why it can be so hard for women to lose weight when they enter into their perimenopausal years and even their menopausal years. We covered much more details, much more in detail in the masterclass, but I want to take some time to quell some of the fears or address what some consider as a controversial topic with regards to the safety of women and fasting, especially the comment that I regularly hear way too much in that fasting, it's okay for men, but it's not a good idea for women. Now, to start off, my advice to anyone that says something like that is to please be wary of anyone that ever speaks in absolutes or says something like is something is good or bad for all females per se, as we're all different and no one anything it's going to be the best for every single person, as the devil is always in the details. But in the response to that overly broad statement, I personally think that fasting, if done properly, can be super beneficial for females as it helps build what is called metabolic flexibility, which is the smooth ability of the body to transition to running on stored body fat from previously running on sugars and or glucose. But in order for that to happen, or if a person is going to decide if fasting is going to be right for them, there are kind of three important factors that should always be considered. The first is what type of fasting is a person considering implementing, as there's actually many different types of fasts, such as time-restricted eating, alternate day fasting, fast-mimicking diets. There's water fasts, bone broth fasts, and fasts where a person can still drink herbal teas and citrus, and actually many more. Now, the second consideration is what is the length of the fast going to be? It could be 16 hours, it could be 24 hours, or 48 hours, or there are even multiple day fasts. And then lastly, or let's just say consideration number three is how often or what is the frequency that a person plans to fast, such as, is it going to be a daily practice? Is it going to be a weekly thing? Or is it only going to be a monthly occurrence? Now, when considering all of the different possible combinations of those three factors that I just listed, there are actually numerous possible ways in which a female, or any person for that matter, can choose to use fasting for whatever their goals are. Wherever one type of fasting might honestly not be ideal for one person, but another combination of fasting might be just right. So when anyone makes the blatant statement such as fasting is bad for women, please take what they say with a grain of salt. And remember, anyone that speaks in absolutes is usually also going to be too biased in one particular direction. Now, the next area that should be considered when it comes to fasting is what is the purpose of the fast going to be? Is it to have more energy? Is it for hormonal problems? Does a person have a longevity goal? Or do they just want to lose some weight? Now, someone who is a giant stress ball, as I call it, and is already under eating, then that's a person who first needs to get their calories up, and only then should some of the more gentler types of fasts, where fasting is layered in slowly, and where that person's fasting muscles are first built up, should be used. Whereas if you have a person who's maybe obese and not very active and is eating, let's say, poor quality foods, then that female may benefit from either an aggressive type of fast as well as some of the gentler types of fasting, as she most likely just needs less calories and more movement. Then there are the women who might want to use fasting to help improve any type of hormonal symptoms or imbalances. Now, this month's module, or the masterclass of this month, that specifically highlighted that type of female, or the perimenopausal female, or it could even be a woman who suffers with bad PMS symptoms. And usually, obviously they show up around the menstrual cycle. Now, women falling into that last category, or perimenopausal, can definitely see, a huge benefit from the use of time-restricted feeding and are using things like bone broth fasts or even a fast mimicking diet, as those are very often also the types of women who have blood sugar issues. And by helping them get in some calories primarily from fat during their fasting days, that can help them in terms of calming their appetites down a bit. But that fact that they're only eating fats are also, it's beneficial because they're not stimulating an insulin surge at all, so they can still help them lose weight and balance their hormonal side of things. So case in point of all that rambling, there are many possible combinations of fasting that can be used, and they can all deliver different types of results to different types of females. Now, in the next video, we are going to be looking at some specific types of females and how the use of fasting could benefit them through the lens of a health coach. Specifically, how to use fasting to maximize weight loss, and how to also properly use fasting so it lines up with a female's menstrual cycle instead of the use of fasting that might fight against a woman's hormones. Okay, so that is a wrap for this video. I am Travis James Zipper with the Nutritional Coaching Institute, signing off. Hopefully I will see everyone next time, or hopefully I'll see you all in the lab.